What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Dorian Show. Sorry, I just banged my table. It's just tried to start this podcast like a million times. And I think I finally figured out what the issue is with my audio. For some reason, the frequencies are getting hit when I record on my desktop. So I'm recording the audio through my laptop, and it just sounds way better. But yeah, episode 10, everyone, and I just don't even... I'm surprised I haven't made it this far, honestly. And I don't know if you guys are on the same page, you know what I mean? Like, some of my episodes have been all right. Some of my episodes have been pretty shitty. And I'm just trying to figure this out. And I, for those who follow along every single week, I thank you. I thank you for just joining me on this journey. You know what I mean? I'm trying different ways to make this better. But thank you. So I'm just going to jump into what I want to talk about today. Okay. When I was like 30 years old, I bought my first pair of Jordan. You know what I mean? When I was 30. I'm like 33 right now. I'm turning 34. And a lot of you young cats out there are rocking J's on Instagram when you're teenagers, when you're in your 20s. I didn't get my first pair until I was 30. And when I got my first pair, I had another dumb idea that came across my mind. And that was, I thought I should start becoming a sneaker reseller. That's what I thought. After getting my first pair, I bought a bunch of other pairs of Jordans. And by a bunch, I just meant like I bought the same pair of the stuff that I like. And I thought I was going to make a shit ton of money. And guess how many pairs of Jordans I've resold since buying my first pair of Jordan 3 years ago? That's right. 0 pairs of Jordans. I resold 0 pairs. And I decided to do a podcast on the business of reselling and if it was actually worth it. And I got to tell you, like when the idea first came across my head, I was like, there's no way reselling is a good business plan. You know what I mean? Like, you could probably make better money just investing the money into the stock market. That's what I initially thought. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, I'm so smart. I'm going to do the math and come back and let you guys know why investing in shoes to resell is a bad idea. But guess what? I did the math and it's actually not a bad business plan. Like if you know what to get, if you know what shoes to get, like you could probably resell them for percentage wise, like a really nice return. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's just very like me to just be like, yeah, this sucks. Let me find the evidence to back it up. But it turns out, you know, if you spend some time, you spend some money on buying shoes and reselling shoes, you can make a pretty nice penny, you know what I mean? And I'm just going to go over what I think are the pros and cons of it, you know? Like if you really want to get into it, it's not easy. For sure, it's not easy. There's a lot of risk involved. And also a lot of money, like a lot of capital needed to even get into the shoe reselling business. You know what I mean? So let me tell you about my journey of buying my first pair of Jordans. So the first pair of Jordans that I got when I was 30 was the Air Jordan 1 Game Royal. So it's like a blue and white Jordan 1. If you guys don't know what that is, I should have brought it in here, but you know, I don't wear fucking shoes in the house because I'm not a fucking animal, guys. All right, you can look it up, or I'll put a picture on here, but probably not. So anyway, so I picked up this pair of Air Jordans. At the time, it was going for retail for $160. And is that my final cost? No, of course not, because there's tax. It's about 9% tax in California because, you know, they want to rob us. I don't know. So anyways, $160 retail with the 9% tax comes out to be $175 spent on this pair of shoe, right? So I wore this pair of shoe, so it's probably not worth as much reselling it, but I did buy a second pair a later time at a different store. So I had to hunt this pair down, and I bought another pair. So $175 with tax, never worn. As they say, dead stock on the streets. Okay. And then I go on StockX. If you guys don't know what StockX is, it's a sneaker reselling company that basically you ship your shoes to them to verify it's real and they ship it off to the buyer. and then they give you a bunch of money. So anyways, the last sale for this pair of shoes that I bought for $175 is worth about $465 now, 3-4 years later, you know? And you might think that's a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but when you sell through StockX, they take maybe like, I think they take about 13% of your of the cost of the shoe, okay? And then I think if you're like a heavy seller, it might come down to like 11%, but it's still a significant chunk of change. So I did the math with the selling fees and everything and the taxes I paid. At the end of the day, if I sold my shoe today, I would make a $225 profit, and that's about 129% profit in 3 years, which is a lot of money. In the percentage gain is a lot, right? $225 in 3 years is actually nothing, and that comes up to an issue I thought about later on. But in terms of in 3 years' time, I could make 129% of my money. So it was like double, and then another 30%. Those are really good returns. And in the beginning, before I was recording this podcast, I was thinking to myself, I was like, nah, you could probably make just as good money in the stock market. And the returns of the stock market is probably like, if anything, slightly better, but like less hassle. And it's not true. Like it would take me 15 years to get that type of returns on the stocks I buy, and an annual compounding of 8% a year. You know what I mean? It'll take me 15 years to get 129% earnings. Okay. So right off the bat, like investing in shoes, reselling shoes, the returns will be higher than what you would do in the stock market. So I lost. Like my main argument is already out, right? So why am I not doing shoe reselling? And it just comes down to me being very lazy. And there are other risks to it. But if you, one thing like the stock market is way better than reselling shoes forever. For example, is scalability, right? Like it's very easy for me to move most of my money into the stock market. Like if you are, I mean, depending how rich or poor you are, you could put hundreds of dollars in the stock market, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in the stock market easily. You know what I mean? It's just a record on the internet. It doesn't take anything. You don't need to move anything physical. It's, you know, that's a huge competitive advantage of the stock market. But these returns you can't ignore these returns in reselling shoes. But then you would have to think about like, how do you scale a business like that, right? So I could buy buy one pair of Jordans, right, for $170, and then I sit on it for 3 years, and then I resell it for 129% profit, percentage profit. So the percentage is like insane, but my actual profits only come out to be like $225 in 3 years, which is chump change. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where you guys are in life, but I bet whoever's listening to this is probably like in the same, like, was it the social economical status as me, or a lot of you guys are probably richer than me, to be honest. So that is like not a lot of money to you. So what would be worth it for you, right? You know, that's maybe $225,000 in 3 years is a good investment. So that means you have to buy 1,000 pairs of those shoes in the beginning, right? So if you were about to buy 1,000 pairs of these shoes that I bought, that's $175,000. $175,000. I said it wrong. That number doesn't even register in my head because I'm so poor, right? So if you want to make a profit of $225,000, you would have to buy 1,000 pairs of the shoes, the Jordan 1 Game Royals, 3 years ago, and you would have to buy 1,000 pairs, number one issue, it comes out to $175,000. $175,000, right? First, I don't know how many people just has that money around to like buy shoes with, right? That's a huge investment, number one. And then number two, like, how are you gonna store 175? No, sorry, how are you gonna store 1,000 pairs of these Jordans? Like at that point, you would need like storage space, right? And then there's a cost of storage space, and then you need those like air lock places, so it doesn't like the moisture doesn't fuck up your shoes. Like there's just a lot to add on for the barrier to entry, you know. And what are you gonna do with these $1,000 shoes? What if you're not able to sell these shoes? You know what I mean? Like, are you willing to sell them for a loss, right? And then you still need to give a cut to StockX or whatever. It's just a lot to think of, you know. What are the other costs of keeping 1,000 pairs of shoes, right? You need the space to keep it. So you either need to rent out a storage space, which are pretty cheap, $100-something a month, but you need to sell these shoes quick. Storage costs money. How are you even going to get 1,000 pairs, by the way? The Foot Lockers I went when I got my first pair of these shoes, they only had one pair left, and in my size. So they might have other pairs, right? But am I going to be able to get 1,000 pairs of these hype shoes? No. You know what I mean? Like, I'll probably be able to get like maybe like 20 pairs of them. And that means I need to go, what, 50 different stores, and hopefully I could get 20 pairs of these shoes that would be able to move. How are you going to move so many shoes into your car, you know what I mean, without getting robbed, to be honest? I mean, but if you lived in like where I was getting these shoes, the first time I got these shoes, I got in Lakewood, so it's pretty chill there. Not too many people. I don't know if someone would rob me on the way out, but they might. The second pair I got was in downtown LA. Like me and my friend and I actually, a shout out to Monica Velasco, holla. She actually came with me to like Hollywood area, I think, and I didn't even have parking, and I just went in there. I was just like, yo, help me pick up these shoes, I'll pay you back. Where there's no parking, she went in there and tried to buy these shoes for me. Shout out to my good friend, right? But if let's say I got like 1,000 pairs of shoes from there, like I would probably get robbed in Hollywood, to be honest. Right? So what's the cost? Do I need to hire people to buy these shoes for me, or do I need to hire people to come with me? Like that costs money too, you know. How do people get 1,000 pairs of shoes? So a lot of people online some of them do get like 1,000 pairs of like one of the hypest shoes. I don't know. I'm not really a sneakerhead, so what's a really popular shoe? Let's say shit, I feel so bad. This guy just died recently. Rest in peace. What's his name? Virgil Abloh, right? This guy. There's these kids on Instagram that post pictures with like 1,000 pairs of shoes, or like 100 pairs of shoes of Virgil Abloh shoes that, you know, retails for like maybe $200, but like they resell for like $6,000. So how do these kids get so many pairs? And one of the ways to get a lot of pairs of shoes is to get a bot, right? You buy a program online that will. There's not even a guarantee you'll get these shoes because the bots keep changing. Foot Locker, Nike keeps changing the website, so it's kind of a hack. They don't want to get hacked, right? They want to shut down these loopholes. So you're spending thousands of dollars. So you might have a chance to be able to get 1,000 pairs of the shoes. So you can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah, I don't know if the investment is there. It's almost like a business. You know what I mean? Right. The other way to get a lot of shoes is like if you have I think this is what they call is like a plug, you know what I mean? Not like a butt plug, but like someone that has access, that's willing to give you access. So maybe someone that works in Nike or Foot Locker that's willing to reserve you copies. But like who would do that unless you're paying them out? Like you're giving them what, $10 a shoe, $20 a shoe? That just cuts into your profit. So yeah, I don't know. I think if you have a strong business plan and you understand sneakers, then yeah, you could resell sneakers and make a good profit. But sometimes you can't resell a sneaker. I actually have a pair of Yeezys. I'll put this down. 700 Mauves. They were $300 plus the 9% tax. So it was like $330 out of pocket. I've never worn them. 3 years later, they're only worth $370. You know what I mean? That's a loss in my mind. You know what I mean? And some shoes don't do as well. Like I got Jordans typically do pretty okay, I guess. The ones that I have I would make if I sold would have been 129% profit. I actually got Jordan 6s infrareds, 2 pairs. I wore one of them. Those are pretty cool, you know. And if I sold them now, they would probably go for, it says last sale was $396. I would make like 82% profit. So it's not as much, but it's still a pretty good profit margin in 3 years. But this is, I'm starting to ramble now. So how do I break this down? You need to identify the type of shoe you want that you think will be able to resell. That's pretty good. You know, I think most people can. And number 2, how are you going to get your hands on pairs? Are you going to spend thousands of dollars on a bot? Are you going to spend thousands of dollars on people waiting in line for you? Or bribing someone to sell you, give you access to a bunch of pairs on release, and then I don't know, what much you say, you spend $1,000 on someone that will give you access to the shoe when it releases? Like, how are you going to do it? Are you going to wait in line? You pay for people to wait in line? You know, there's risk that you're going to get robbed? You know, where are the other risks? That you'll get robbed. You can't sell them. There's just too many, man. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you can't make a shit ton of money reselling shoes. I'm actually convinced now that anybody who treats this as like a business will be able to make a shit ton of money. And I think you can make some money on the side as like a, you know, you can probably make the money on the side as a hobby, but it's probably not enough for you to even quit your job. You know what I mean? But yeah, if you guys want to do it as a business, like number 1, you need to think about like the capital cost to even, you know, gather these shoes and to get these shoes. And then you have to be able to hold these shoes for maybe a couple years for it to see some profit. Because the Game 1 Royals, when I first bought it, they released a couple times in the same year, and it was like trading sideways for a long time. You know what I mean? It was like 160. It was probably worth like $180, $200. But now it's worth more, $465. But who knows if they're going to re-release this next year or this year? You know, it'll just like dilute the inventory. So there's a lot of risk involved, but you know, I'm sold. I think you guys could do, if you guys want to do a business reselling sneakers, you could probably do really well if you have the money and the time and like the work ethic. Because for me, I'm just like, the idea of like packing up a shoe, you know, in its original box and then putting it in like another box and shipping it off to StockX. And then for them to like maybe like not say this pair is good enough, because that's the other thing. There's like defects when I buy these shoes. My Yeezys, there's like a speck of defect on, like there's this like green part of the shoe. There's like a purple speck on it. That's a defect, right? My Jordan 6 retros, there's a little scratch on the icy blue side panel. That's a defect. You know what I mean? Like, how do you get rid of defect? You got to return these shoes that are hard to get, or you keep them. I don't know. You try to resell them. They're probably worth less. You know what I mean? So you have to send these shoes, pack them up, send them to StockX, and just hope StockX will like say they're good enough to sell them to a customer. They take like a fucking 13%, and you get a couple $100. You know what I mean? Like at scale, I would do it, but like for like a couple pairs, I have maybe like 5 or 6 pairs of shoes that are worth money, and I'm just like, it's not even worth it for me to pack this up, man. But anyway, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I know I have a couple friends out there that are reselling shoes. You think it's a good business? You feel like you're making good money and you come up on top, or you feel like the time isn't worth the few couple $100s or thousands of dollars that you've made over like the past 10, 20 years? You know what I mean? It would be pretty cool. You make like $5,000 a month, but what if you only made like $5,000 in the past 10 years of collecting sneakers? Then that's kind of shitty. So that's just what I want to talk about a little bit. I think I spent like 20 minutes on that. My bad. I'm also trying to learn how to like timestamp stuff. Oh, here, I'll do this right here. For my next topic. I haven't talked about doing comedy in a while, guys. Because it's been doing open mics is kind of soul sucking. You know what I mean? I didn't like for the longest time. I wasn't writing. It hasn't been that long. I've been doing open mics maybe like 3 months now. I don't know. I don't really know when I started, but I think it's about 3 months, and it's hard. Like when you're an open micer. Like I don't want to say you. Speaking of first person. When I'm doing open mics, to make this more personal, when I'm doing open mics, it's a drain into my psyche when I'm going to like 3-4 mics a week and I'm just telling the same jokes right in the beginning, and then these jokes which I think are good, they're actually terrible, and then when I come down to the ones where I think are actually good and still nobody's laughing, it's terrible. It's really hard. It's not a good motivator, but somehow I keep doing it. You know what I mean? Like I think I'm crazy in some ways. So that's rough, you know. Tell the same jokes to the same crowd because there's nobody there. It's just other open micers telling their same stupid jokes. No one's laughing at each other. Just stuff. It's kind of soul sucking, you know. And then, yeah, and I wasn't writing new jokes for a while. And then recently I started writing new jokes. And this just kind of happens. You know what I mean? I don't know what other people's process are. Like I have a couple friends that do this stuff, you know, they say they like write every single day, like an hour at least, or they try to write a new joke every day. I don't know if it's true or not. I guess it is. I think most people aren't as lazy as I am when it comes to like personal goals and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I just recently I've been able to write new jokes, and that just happened by chance. And I guess it's a little bit easier to come up with new jokes for me because I'm spending most of the time talking to myself in my head anyways, right? Or thinking. So jokes are bound to happen. But also another thing that sucks about open mics is that there are no live audience. It's so hard to get a live audience. You would have to get on someone's show and like hope there's real people there, right? Because if you're in a show with like 5 other people, these 5 comics are really excited to have this opportunity, and then they'll bring their friends, which are live audience, but they're kind of like a home crowd for them, at least. But you're hoping you know this other comic's friends might laugh at your own jokes, which is what I think happens, you know, because I haven't gone on any shows yet. Like I mentioned before, like some guy like rejected me, and I haven't even asked any other people to get on their shows. You know what I mean? But once in a while, there will be a live audience. You know, once in a while, they'll trickle in. And I gotta tell you, like, I feel like I am such a simp for live audiences. Like I get so excited when I see someone that's not a comic and they're just there at a bar, you know, with their friends, and they're just drinking. I'm excited. I'm excited when they don't know there was an open mic there. You know, they're just, oh, there's a show here. Yeah, I guess I'll stay. But once in a while, you'll have guests that come just to see the open mic. And I tell you, I love these people. I love them so much. So this past week at open mics, it's kind of rough, you know. I did 4 mics. And the first 2 mic, I basically went last. And that's the worst feeling ever, you know what I mean? Because the only people in the bars are the open micers. And a lot of people leave right after they're done with their set. You know what I mean? So the crowd just dwindles down. Even though they're fake crowd, they're a comic. And by the time you go up, there's like 3 people. And one of them is like the guy that hosts the mic. It's so depressing. You know, so on Monday and Tuesday, I was basically dead last for 2 of the mics. And, you know, things turned out okay. Like when I got there and realized I was last, I was really bummed out. You know? I was like super depressed. And it's actually my fault, you know. They tell me exactly when the signups are in person, and I show up a little bit later, and everybody that wants an earlier spot gets there before me, and they get a good spot. So that's my fault. It's not on them. You know what I mean? But it worked out okay, you know, for those 2 days. Thank God. The first day I did it, I was probably like 11 o'clock when I went up to the mic. And there were still a couple people around, which was good. And my set didn't totally eat shit, you know, which is good. And then Tuesday, I was almost dead last again. And oh my gosh. Yeah, this is going to be a promo clip. These 3 ladies girls, ladies, women. What am I talking about, dude? I don't know my nouns. Anyway, these 3 ladies came into the bar. I don't know what they're there for. Maybe they're just the open mic or karaoke, or they're just drinking with the girls. And they sat in the back initially, which most people do that. They sit in the back and whatever is cool. They're new people. I was like, all right, whatever. And then in the front is where all the comics are. For this one mic, the comics were sitting in the front. Maybe a handful of them. Most people are in the back. A handful of the comics in the front. But then they start going up, and then they're done, right? So I was like terrified because basically I'm in my house. Like, all right, by the time I go up there, like the tables in front of me, or the seats in front of me will be completely empty, and there might be like 5 people in the far back of the room, and they're not going to be listening. So I'm going to be performing to an empty crowd with my shitty jokes. But God bless these 3 women, right? These 3 wise women, very smart, I'm sure. And a couple people before me, they decided to walk to the front, and they sat right in front of the stage. And I was like, thank God. I've never been so happy in my life. Like, that's the joy I have, right? You know, when I got up stage, I just basically performed to 3 people. I looked right at them. They were like maybe 5 feet in front of me. It's just 3 ladies. I just talked straight at them. And they were a good crowd. I very thankful for them. They're a really good crowd. They felt like they were part of the show. They were laughing, which is good. Makes me feel better, even though I don't know if it's because I'm funny or they're just laughing at me or they're just laughing at anything because they're drunk. But like hearing like real people laughter really makes me want to keep doing this. It's like just a couple of people laughing would make me want to keep doing open mics, which is kind of pathetic and depressing, but also for anybody listening to this, like if you ever go to an open mic or even a show, like be open to laughing. Like don't, well, I know like if you go to a comedy show, like if you went to go see Dave Chappelle, obviously you'll laugh because you're there to laugh. But if you go to an open mic, like just be more willing to laugh. Like everybody there will have a better time. You will, the open micer will. So anyway, these 3 ladies were like, they were kind of part of the show. You know, they were making comments. They're talking at the comic. You know, in this setting, it was fine because it was just the 3 of them. But in the back of my head, I was just like, dude, if this was a packed room and everybody was doing what they were doing, like talking to the comic, this would be an issue. An issue that I've never had because I've never performed in a packed crowd before of just a live crowd, you know. But anyway, it was just a good. What turned out to be what I thought would be like a bad night on Tuesday turned out to be pretty good because these 3 ladies sat in the front and they listened. It's actually in my promo video. I don't know if I said that already. So there's a pretty funny clip. You know, I don't want to give out most of my jokes because I don't want to get canceled or just have it out there, you know what I mean? But it was just a fun, short 5-second interaction I had with them. But yeah, like that was just a good moment. It was a highlight of my week. And then the last 2 mics were all right. I was, this felt like most of the other mics, you know, I wasn't dead last. I was probably like the first half of the people that went up, and it's just whatever, like a little bit of chuckle here and there. I think there are some live audiences members on Fridays, but I didn't win them over. I thought my jokes were pretty good. But yeah, comedy is weird. What else? Speaking of comedy, I just recently watched Louis C.K.'s new stand-up. It's called Louis C.K. Sorry. And I know he got canceled a couple years ago, so some of you guys might not like him. But to me, I think he's probably one of the best comics out there, right? And like in my list of Mount Rushmores, it'll be him and Dave Chappelle. And it's everyone else. Probably Bill Burr will be added onto that. But going into it, I was a little afraid that it would suck. Part of me is starting to think that Netflix has killed comedy. You know what I mean? Because they have so many stand-up comedy specials. You know, and I feel like everybody's just pressured into putting up a new special. You know what I mean? Like comics now are putting up specials every single year. And I hate to say it, like, coming from an open micer who's done nothing in this comedic avenue to critique this. Kind of sounds kind of weird because who am I? But you know what I mean? A lot of stand-up specials on Netflix are kind of trash. And the last couple of years, a lot of comedy specials have been terrible. And I think it might be two things. Number one, I think there's just more of them. You know what I mean? Like, even if the content of the comedy hasn't changed, like someone's special might have done way better 10 years ago and bombed today just because there's just so many more of them today. You know, there's like a scarcity issue, you know, supply and demand. You know, there's a high demand for stand-up specials and you only get like one or two. You get like, oh shoot, Dave Chappelle got one, or like, oh shoot, Russell Peters got one, and you've only seen specials like maybe once or twice, you know what I mean, in the past, or you get like one special from someone you like every 2 years. You know what I mean? Like you watch Russell Peters and then you're like, oh shit, that was great. And 2 years later you see Dave Chappelle's and you're, oh man, that's great. And then 2 years later you see Louis C.K. and that was it. So everybody's comedy specials feels more special. You know what I mean? And especially if they're really good, like top of their games, like these three guys, Russell Peters, Dave Chappelle, and Louis C.K. And it just like gives this hype to it. But like now, even the last couple of specials of comics that I really like, and I'm not going to say their names, and they're really funny people, and they are pretty big names, but their specials have been pretty weak, and some of them just flat out suck. You know what I mean? And I don't know if they know it. But part of me feel like they do know like their own special sucks. And yeah, I don't know. It's so rough in comedy to know what's funny. I feel like everything's so subjective. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you just need to build your audience and they'll laugh because they like you for who you are, but you fall outside of that, like you might just eat shit. But I don't know. I just want to get to the point where I could, like, you know, get on shows and develop a following for my comedy, you know. Maybe I'm good. I don't even know if I'm good or not. I think I'm good, but obviously everybody who puts a fucking mic in their hand thinks they're good at a certain level where they wouldn't do it, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not out there foot racing people because I know I'm slow, you know. But oh yeah, back to Louis C.K.'s special. It's surprise he still got it, and I'm very happy about that. I feel like I'm a little worried for like these heavy hitters like Dave Chappelle, Bill Burr, and Louis C.K. That I feel like if they just keep pushing out specials, like would it ruin like the collection of their work? You know what I mean? Like I don't know, dude. I love Dave Chappelle. I think he's like, if he retired now, he would be one of the best of all time. Him and Louis neck to neck. But I feel like his last couple specials were all right. It's not like they weren't funny, but he's more like a speaker, like a really good speaker that tells jokes. You know what I mean? It's like he's like a pastor that tells really good jokes in a sermon, or a TED Talk. He's a really good TED Talk talker who incorporates jokes in it, but. Like, I don't know. I don't. This last stand-up comedy, I was just like, he has a message, and he's making it funny delivering that message. But I feel like before, you know, Dave used to be just like funny first, and I feel like that Louis C.K.'s was that this one, and I was worried. Like in the beginning, I felt like some of the jokes were all right, like whatever. But then he started getting into the groove, and I think he has at least in an hour. I think he has probably like 5 really good bits. You know what I mean? And his bits are long too, so that's a good sign. My favorite joke he did was of what's that guy's name? Not Ben Affleck, but Matt Damon. In Good Will Hunting, he has a really good bit for Good Will Hunting. It goes for a while. It's really good. You guys should watch it. It's not on Netflix because he got canceled. It's on his website. $10. You get to watch it forever. I think you guys should definitely do it. But yeah, that's what I have on comedy this week. You know, Christmas is coming up. You know, hopefully I'll get some more mics in. And 2022, I need to find a way to get onto these people's shows, man. You know, a lot of it I think has to do with networking, which I'm not really good at it, you know. And I don't know. I might just have to do my own show. Like I talked about this before, but I don't have 30 minutes. I don't have 30 minutes of material for me to even worth it for me to make my own show and drag all my friends out and have them pay like $20 to watch me talk. It's kind of an insane ask, by the way, to like throw your own show and be like, yeah, I want to like all the friends I know in the world to pay $20 to watch me talk for 30 minutes and a couple of people that you don't know talk for 10 minutes each. And we expect you guys to laugh. It's kind of insane. Anyway, let's jump to some things that probably a lot of you guys don't care about. UFC and boxing match. UFC 269. This happened 2 weeks ago now, I think. And I would have talked about it, but I recorded my episode before it happened. And man, it sucks seeing some of your favorite players get like finished or knocked out. You know what I mean? Cody Garbrandt. I don't know if you guys are a huge UFC fan. If not, you guys would probably turn the shit off. Cody Garbrandt is probably one of my favorite fighters. Right after he like beat up Dominic Cruz. Okay, but like since then he was only won like 1 or 2 fights, and he's getting killed and knocked out by like everybody, man. And he's a young guy, but I'm like, you can only get knocked out so many times where like it's time to put it up, man. It's time to hang up the gloves. Cody and he was the favorite going into this fight, and I was just worried the whole time, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I'm happy like California doesn't let me bet on sports, because I'll be losing so much money because I bet with my heart, you know what I mean? Like I was like, if I could bet, I'll bet on Cody because he's one of my favorite fighters, and I think he's skilled. But what I've learned in history is like if you bet against him, you would have been rich, dude. He's always the favorite, and he's lost every time. So you could have been rich betting him, you know. It was also sad to see Dustin Poirier get choked out, you know. He was another one of those fights where I was just like, yeah, I would bet money on him that he'll be the champ, just because I want to see him as the champ. But Charles Oliveira is a motherfucker, dude. That guy is so talented. But this one, there's a chance, because Charles Oliveira is willing to get punched in the face. He's good at submissions, he's good at striking, but he's also willing to let you just punch him in the face really hard. And that's what Dustin Poirier did in the first round. He almost killed him, man. But he had his chance. He didn't take him down. In the second round, Dustin Poirier was just lying there, like just trying to survive, not get submitted. And then third round, Charles Oliveira did like a rear naked choke on him and choked him the fuck out, dude. So I don't know. I don't know if Dustin Poirier is going to chase another belt at 155. Like, he already fought everybody. You know what I mean? Like, they're not just going to let him fight Charles Oliveira again. And does he really want to do work? That whole weight class is just filled with killers. You know what I mean? Part of me I don't know. I'm not a professional fighter, and I guess the belt's really important to him. But at some point, if I were him, I would just go after like the big paying fights, right? Fight Conor McGregor again. Fight Nate Diaz. Who else does he have beef with? He should go and fight Jake Paul, honestly. Dustin Poirier's undersized compared to Jake Paul, but he's a real boxer. Like, he has some serious boxing skills. And I don't know how he'll deal with the length, because guess what? Weight does matter. Size does matter in fighting, no matter how skilled you are, which I'll get to next. But yeah, he should fight Conor McGregor, fight Nate Diaz, and then just go and fight Jake Paul and call it a day and make millions of dollars and just ride off into the sunset in your mid-30s, dude. Like, what a dream come true. What a dream come true. And then finally, the other fight I want to talk about is Amanda Nunes getting choked out by Juliana Pena. Like, that was a huge underdog, but Amanda Nunes has been killing these ladies over the past couple of years, you know what I mean? If you bet on Juliana Pena, I think she was like plus 600. So like if you bet $100, you'll win $600. That's insane. That's an insane return. That's even better than selling sneakers, dude. You know what I mean? like $10,000, you would win $60,000. You win $60,000. So you give $10,000, you get $70,000 minus the 10 that you invested in. That would be $60,000. Crazy. And I feel like in the fighting game, maybe at some point you're going to lose. You know what I mean? If you keep fighting, there's going to be a point where you lose. But this was a little different. Amanda Nunes looked flustered, man. They were very different. When they first walked in there, Juliana Pena looked real nervous. She looked super nervous, man. But once the fight got started, like I could just see the panic in Amanda Nunes' eyes, and I've never seen that before in her. You know what I mean? I just know her as someone that knocked out Holly Holm, knocked out Cyborg, knocked out Ronda Rousey. Like that's the Amanda Nunes that I'm familiar with. But she was hitting Juliana Pena, and Juliana was not backing down. And you could see that Amanda was getting tired, man, and she was getting what's the word I'm looking for? I feel like I have brain damage, man. I just started MMA, dude. I think I'm just dumb. She started to panic. You know what I mean? And then when Juliana got her on the ground, and then she got her in choke, it didn't even look like she choked her that long, or it was even in good form. I just felt like she got her in a position, and Amanda tapped out. And dude, shout out to Juliana Pena, dude. Definitely not. I mean, I definitely never thought like the hottest woman in the ring would win the belt that night. You know what I'm saying? Juliana Pena, congratulations to her, man. Like, you know what I mean? She took down a fighter that no one thought was possible. Like, I didn't think anybody would ever beat Amanda Nunes. You know what I mean? Maybe Shevchenko would, but they already fought twice. I do want to see a third time Valentina fighting Amanda. But yeah, yeah, dude, it was crazy. You know what I mean? The fighters I want to win lost that night, and then the biggest upset in UFC. It felt like since Nate Diaz choked Conor McGregor out, it's probably one of the biggest upsets that I've seen. When Juliana Pena choked out Amanda Nunes. But yeah, dude, I fucking love the UFC. And then yesterday, I watched the Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley fight, and it turns out I know nothing about fighting. All right, I was convinced that Tyron Woodley is going to beat him. You know what I mean? After watching the first fight, Tyron Woodley was slow. You know what I mean? But he almost knocked him out. He almost knocked Jake Paul out. And I thought if Tyron Woodley was able to have a more sense of urgency and pressure him a little bit more, like he's going to beat the shit out of Jake Paul. He's going to knock him out. I thought he was going to knock him out for sure. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. Jake Paul knocked out Tyron Woodley just flat on his fucking face in the 6th round. And I was like, I'm looking at the internet with my friends and Twitter, and a lot of people think it's staged. They said, yeah, Tyron Woodley dropped his hands on purpose to let Jake Paul knock him out. And I'm like, is that the kind of world we want to live in, where we think professional sports is rigged? You know what I mean? I'm not saying it can't be, but you want to live in a world where instead of just giving Jake Paul, I guess a lot of people don't like him, the props of knocking out Tyron Woodley, you don't want to do it. You'd rather just say everything's fake, it's staged. Is that the world you want to live in? You know what I mean? Not to mention it's fucking illegal. There's millions and millions of dollars of people betting on this fight. You know what I mean? You think if Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley would take a risk to go to prison for fixing a fight? I'm not saying it doesn't happen. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it's not that unbelievable, by the way. All right, Tyron Woodley is a fucking good fighter in mixed martial art and wrestling. But guess what? This is boxing. This is a new sport. Okay, he's fighting against a guy that's bigger than him and taller than him, Jake Paul. You know what I mean? And Tyron Woodley has some skills. He's a killer in fighting, but in boxing, it's a new sport to him, even though he's boxed before. You know what I mean? And anyone could get caught. You're fighting someone that's bigger than you, taller, I'm guessing stronger, younger, then you potentially could get knocked out, okay? It's not that hard to believe in. But it's close enough to make these fights exciting. It makes people want to watch Jake Paul just end careers of people in the UFC. You know what I mean? If I was a UFC fighter, I would, I'm at the end of my contract, I would just get Dana White to give me a contract just so I wouldn't fight Jake Paul and potentially losing. You know what I mean? Like, if you're, I don't know who's done it out of their contract now, but you know what I mean? Like, what if you're like, I don't know, whatever fighter that has some name, but you're getting old and you're leaving, and like, you're like, yo, Dana, give me a good contract. And he's like, no. And you're like, well, if you don't give me a contract, I'm gonna go fight Jake Paul, and he might knock me out, and I'll just be another list of like UFC killers that get knocked out by Jake Paul. You know what I mean? That might be a good business model for like a guy that's at the end of their UFC career. Oh, speaking of which, why doesn't Mike Perry fight Jake Paul? That would be a good fight, dude. I fucking love Mike Perry, dude. That guy is he's a little weird, but I love weird fighters like that. And he got knocked down his last fight, and he still came back and won in a decision. I would love to see him fight Jake Paul. That would be fun, dude. That would be fun. He might get knocked out because he's a little reckless, but it'll be very exciting to watch. But yeah, anyway, it's already been like 46 minutes. I went on a 20-minute rampage. I'm just talking about how reselling sneakers could be a pretty good business model, except I'm too lazy to do it, and I'm lazy to do anything except doing open mics. Yeah, that's my 10th episode. I guess I have to go out and celebrate somewhere. I want to thank you guys for listening to me. If you guys made it this far, I really enjoyed. I don't enjoy setting this up, but I really enjoy like putting these videos out there. And I know sometimes the videos suck, but I really appreciate everybody that's listening. If you're listening to this on Spotify and all that podcasting app, like just, I don't know, like I don't know if you could rate this. I'm not sure. Rate it, like it. I don't know. Subscribe, follow, and hopefully I'll get more listeners through there. They're actually pretty good. I'm not getting as many as I am on YouTube, which is not a lot, but Spotify has been pretty consistent. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. Like, more than half of you guys aren't subscribers, and you guys are definitely not liking these videos. So please give me some of those. I'm trying to get better at this. If you guys have any questions, answer. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the description below in the comment section. DM me on Instagram, Twitter, whatever. I love you guys. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.